Chuck, Michael, are we ready to go now? We are good, Madam Chair.
All righty. Well, welcome everyone to the Thursday, December 2nd, 2021 Board of Commissioners Roundtable meeting. We do have an updated packet, so I hope everyone has had the opportunity to grab that. We essentially have 5 things to touch on today. In addition, or 5 main topics, in addition to a couple of other updates that I'll give at the beginning as well. Does everyone have the packet? Okie dokie, great. So the first thing we have is just the set of information that we try, and that is the sequence of the meetings and so forth. We are at the end of the calendar year, so Kevin has put together some very helpful, or the clerk and the clerk's office has put together some very helpful information for us, including a calendar of the 2022 meetings. I updated the roundtable document based upon our roundtables in October and November. There is one update for that, and it's for the January meeting. We will check in on Clean Water Services Board initiatives at that January 6th roundtable. Let's see. The other thing I was wondering about, if possible, for scoping on that roundtable proposal was, as I look at a calendar for 2022, we usually have our roundtable on the first Thursday of the month, but the first day of September is Thursday, September 1st. And historically, I think we have found it useful to have our roundtable after Labor Day. So we have a roundtable after that holiday weekend, sort of commemorating the end of summer vacation mode stuff. So I was wondering if we could scope out having that roundtable on September 8th instead of September 1st. So that's just a request to consider. Plenty of time, and as we well know, if we don't need roundtables, we cancel them. So let's see, then the CAO's office has done a great job of providing us with the forward-looking agendas through the rolling agendas. I think it might be useful if we just look at them real briefly and see if any commissioners have any questions or things you want to raise. Does that seem reasonable? I know there are a couple of things that I have. So I'll just suggest that. On December, does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns on what you're seeing in December? We only have 2 more weeks before the end of our business year, so it's going to be kind of busy. The only change in December I wanted to note is on page, it would be the 3rd page of December, under other meetings. The chair's end of year message will be published on December 14th, as I understand it. So you might, for whatever it's worth, so that the whole organization is lined up, that would be an update. Are there any other comments folks have on December or questions? Nope. Okay. How about January? It's right around the corner. Whole new year. On January 4th, under pending schedule. So there you go. It says review board committee assignments. I think we're going to be doing that today. And we may not have any other changes. So we may be able to accomplish that today. So just a heads up to all the great folks who review all this detail. We may be able to shorten that list for you coming up. Were there any other questions or thoughts that anybody has? We're certainly not without a lot of work to do, that's for sure. And I'm hoping winter will not throw us a whole bunch of winter curveballs, but we have to be prepared for it. So I only had a couple of other updates for this part of the roundtable. And the first is on Metro redistricting. So you all have an email from me from Tuesday, November 30th at 8:40 p.m. We received an email, or at least I did, from Metro Councilor Gonzalez, the District 4 counselor. As usual, just like with the 2010 census, District 4 had the most population growth of all the other metro districts. So its boundaries needed to change. As Councilor Gonzalez helped us understand, they're having a first reading and a public hearing next Tuesday and declaring an emergency given the time that it would take without an emergency would take them out of bounds to their timing requirements. And so given, well, in looking at the information, I think they've done a really good job of soliciting input from our community. I know I provided input and in putting together a solution that tries to minimize the splitting of districts and keeping communities whole. And that includes the city of Tualatin, which spans multiple counties. So the A2 map is part of the packet that is in the Metro packet, and I included a direct link to that map as well for you to see it. And I'm just proposing that we submit a letter of support. And this is where the timing comes in and why I sent that email to let you know. Their meeting starts on Tuesday at 10:30. So the only time by which we have the opportunity to give some positive comments and get a thumbs up on that direction is in today's meeting, because our Tuesday meeting would essentially be too short of a time frame to get a letter done and emailed off to them before they convene their meeting on Tuesday. I just wanted to ask if we could have a thumbs up on direction and ask our staff to help us with a positive letter. Commissioner Treese, go ahead.
Thank you. I had the opportunity to sit through the impact presentation on this as well. And one of the big issues from Washington County's perspective was Beaverton being split into three different districts, so that there'd be three counselors that they'd have to deal with. And I recognize that the same issue holds true for two in Tualatin, I believe it is. Have we talked at all to the mayors about how they're feeling about this? And I also recognize that how the county, if the county supports it, that's one thing, but I'd also like to know what the mayors are thinking at the same time. Do we know?
I thought the A2 map reflects the hatch bar is what I thought will be changing. So that means that the north, well, it went away. So I'll try to find my hard copy.
It's in my district, that Hatchmark area, right? And I just remember reading Juan Carlos's narrative about trying to keep Beaverton from having three districts and keeping Tualatin whole, and it was convoluted what the different options were, and because it was the different situations were pertinent to the mayors. That's why I just wanted to know if we had any communication from them regarding their comfort level. My guess is that they're okay.
I've only had, this is my only conversation with anyone about these maps. So I assume that if the mayors have any thoughts or concerns and or their city councils, that they've participated as well. My focus has really been on all the constituents of Washington County. So I've not engaged with other elected officials on their opinions.
And my sensitivity was raised just by listening to Mayor Beatty's comments at Impact. So that's why I was raising the question. I think this last option is the least impactful, makes the most sense, and I'm in support.
Other commissioners, any thoughts?
I don't, I don't have a big problem with it. I know how difficult a task it is, but I think, Pam, your comments are well placed. That wouldn't hurt just to check in with them. I hate to write a letter of support and then find that they're all objectionable because of some particular reason that we don't even know about. I appreciated getting this the other day. I found it interesting to see all these interesting boundaries, but and I don't understand the hatch one in the middle. I don't get what that is. But something's changed right above
Those
district.
are the changes.
That's the area of change. It will be moving to District 6, as I understand it.
Oh, that's what that does. Okay.
Yeah. So it means that the city of Beaverton will exist, portions of the city of Beaverton will exist now. It's always existed in two districts, District 3 and District 4. Okay. And now it will exist in District 3 and District 6. No portion of the city of Beaverton, in looking at this map, if I understand the geography. Whoops, nope, I might have gotten it wrong.
Where you can also see that there's other hatch marks in East County and down toward the Clackamas area, and those are the changes as well.
I saw that over in one, but I was not, because the color's a little odd, I didn't know where it was going exactly. But I appreciate Juan Carlos sending it and the chair forwarding it on. I just think your point's well taken, Pam, that if they have a big objection, don't like to write letters personally that says something exactly opposite of where they're at. But if they don't have an issue, then I have no problem with boundaries. It is what it is.
Oh, so I see where 217 goes up. I was able to zoom in on my computer. So yeah, there will be a little bit that's still in District 4. Yep, I get it. All the portion that is west of 217 and north of Highway 10. So it'll have, the bulk of it will still be in Beaverton, but part of it, so it'll move from 2 districts to 3. So I think this is the best they could have come up with. There's nothing that we don't have to write any letter at all.
We could also wait till after it's done. A congratulatory letter.
Okay. Well, so I think what I'm hearing is a recommendation to just not do anything right now in advance of their meeting. Yep. So, okay, terrific. Well, that's easy. No more work. The other mention I wanted to provide is in working with our comms director, Philip Bramsford, we started talking about the state of the county address at the beginning part of 2022. And true to the historical form, we'd like to move forward with the proposal or the message being from the full board again. Who knows what the COVID variants are going to throw at us. So at this stage of the game, we're thinking of a similar format to what we did last year of having the recorded session. So what he and I talked about is sending a list of topics to the board and having you look at that and see what topics you would like to highlight, and production wise, what the production team is thinking about is with each of those things, please think about either a place or people or community partner that might help you tell the story of either what it is we've accomplished or what we're looking forward to accomplishing. So I just wanted to plant a seed and let you know that that's an email that I'll be sending out. Does that make sense? Great. All righty, shall do. I will take that AR. Okay. I think we just have a couple of other quick items on the agenda. The next year's business timeline.
Chair,
Yeah,
before you move on, I don't want to interrupt before, but if we can go back to the January rolling agenda, I
Yeah.
just wanted to bring up the state Senate district appointment.
Oh, yes, thank you.
So Kevin, if you could display the January rolling agenda again, please. So this, as Kevin's doing that, this action needs to be completed by January 31st. And we really have a short window to do so. Right now, it is placed on the evening meeting of January 25th. That does, with the items that we already have on the agenda, make it a lengthy evening meeting. So another option would just to be take this item as a singular item and have a special meeting on January 24th, that Monday. So checking in to see your preference, I will indicate that Kevin is taking a much needed vacation that he cannot reschedule on January 25th, that following week. So he will not be here. It is staff's recommendation if the board has availability to actually take this on as a special meeting, but it's up to the board how you want to handle this.
Go ahead, Counselor Treese, Commissioner Treese.
I like the idea of a separate meeting. I think this is going to be an appointment that where we'll have a lot of discussion, I believe, and it's just us. I think it'll be important that we have adequate time and focus on this. So I think a special meeting is a good idea. That's my view.
I was going to say the same thing, so I just agree.
Commissioner Fine, Commissioner Willie, are you prepared for a special meeting on Monday, January 24th, or can you be prepared? Terrific. Well, great. Set it up.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I prefer the morning over the afternoon. I don't know if anybody else has preferences, you know, like 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9:30. What that means is it's within press time for the appointment to go out in that news cycle.
I have a standing meeting at 9 o'clock on Monday mornings. I can move it if everybody would prefer to do 9 o'clock, but my preference would be 10.
Great. 10 o'clock it is. Okay,
Thank you.
terrific.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, standard business year. That's just a template and it has not changed since our November roundtable for the, you know, with the version from October 26th that went into this packet, or that went into that packet. So, but since it was listed on the agenda, we included it as we have sort of a setup for next year. So we didn't really need 30 minutes of time, but just in case you had questions. All righty. So the next topic then is on the board initiatives. So we talked about these at our November roundtable. And so I took my notes from our discussion and updated it. And those are the items that you see highlighted in yellow. I hope as far as I know, I didn't make any other changes beyond those I highlighted in yellow. So with the exception of under workforce, we struck out some language. So has everybody had a chance to look at those? Do you have any questions? Do you see anything missing that will require significant or appreciable time from the board and or political capital?
I would like to make a comment. If I'm up next, I guess I can be. I'm still disappointed. I know that the decisions have been made, but I want to once again say that I'm disappointed that we could find time to deal with the full-time board, but we can't find time to deal with the initiative regarding term limits. I'm going to make my comments and I'm just going to let it go because I have to get off my chest. I'm disappointed. I've heard from several of you that you said, well, it seems like we could at least start it. But so I'm disappointed about that. I'm also disappointed that I made a suggestion that wasn't picked up, and that's okay. Again, that's just me. about the whole housing issue. If you take a look at how we deal with housing in this county, we have a housing authority, we have a municipal bond issue, we have, what we call a wraparound. We have lots of buckets of money, and I still think at some point we need to take a look and say what's a delivery model that makes sense. I like the old PDC model myself, but that's just me. So I'm disappointed that we can't take that up and at least have some conversation. And lastly, I understand that we're going to deal with maybe the whole issue of our strategic plan, but to me, there's a question way before that. This county has evolved since I've been with it, and all counties evolve, but it looks very different in terms of what kinds of services that we deal with. And to me, we need to say where we're going. It's kind of like a big ship out in the middle of the ocean, and we keep adding people to the boat, and that costs us more money to run and more money to staff and more money to do a lot of things, and we just don't have a North Star. And my North Star, as I keep saying, is to say maybe for those of us who were born and raised in Portland, like myself, we saw what Multnomah County did. They evolved into a more of a health and human service, public service sort of an organization. They got rid of a lot of the stuff that our cities. I think we need a dialogue, and it doesn't take some big public effort. It's strategic work that this board would do, and it's the kind of work that I always have enjoyed doing personally. That's why you hire, on our boat out in the ocean, you hire a captain, and that's our CEO, and you got crew members, and she's shuffling those around, but we need to say where we're going. And I just think that we need to have some strategic conversations at some point, and that's well before the strategic plan. We just need to say where are we going. So it makes me feel good, better to get it off my chest. I'm still disappointed that we can't get to those issues, but I've said what I need to say, and now we can move on.
Well, commissioners, we've all had the opportunity to hear Commissioner Rogers' thoughts on this. And I'm sorry, Commissioner Rogers, I don't recall the discussion about housing previously. And I find myself a little bit at a loss of what approach you're requesting, if it's something for the CAO to follow through on with the county housing authority or what. And then on the strategic plan, we only just had a conversation with the CAO about that topic a few months ago, and we all recognized that we don't have the bandwidth to come back to that topic for any sort of conversations with the board until the second half. So I reflecting back that I hear that you're disappointed, but at this juncture, I'm not sure how the board can what options there are for the board to take action beyond what its own sense of self with is at this point. So, but I'm just one of five. So as usual, my ears are open in terms of what other thoughts and ideas commissioners may have.
Well, if I can just chime in again, in regard to the housing, it was brought up. I said that, and it never made it to the next round, and that's fine. I mean, we're a collage of five people, and people have different ideas and different interests. But in the housing area, I challenge all of you to go back and look at the budget and see where housing funds are spread. And I'm a guy, good or bad, my makeup is I like processes and I like metrics to measure. And we have several silos, and I'm trying to say, how do you get those silos into something that makes sense so that you can deliver a set of services in a very thoughtful way. And so I thought I made that point when we had this at a work session. Didn't make it beyond that. And I'm just saying, I'm disappointed we're still not asking Comey and Tanya to look at it and say, is this the best way to deliver services? To me, it's obvious it's not. And as far as the strategic plan, I know we say we don't have bandwidth. I can tell you in the private sector, if you don't know where you're going, then I guess it doesn't matter much where you end up. But I do think that we need to say we're changing and evolving. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we need to recognize that. And I think that I've talked, like all of you, I've talked to many groups, and everybody's saying, where are you going? And it's hard for me to understand where we are going. So again, I'm just one of five. I've made my points. And maybe at some point in the future, more than me will look at these issues and say, let's take a peek and see if there isn't something we ought to strategically look at. So I've made my points, and that's all I intended to do.
Go ahead, Commissioner Willie.
Yeah, and I guess the housing conversation, Roy, I don't recall that either, so I'm sorry. That went right on by me. But I would agree that we have added a considerable amount of money in the housing environment with the 2 levies that were passed. And so, yeah, I guess maybe that clarification or conversation could be had. As far as the strategic plan, just for clarification, you say second half of 22. Does that mean July to December of 22, or does that mean second half of this current fiscal year, which would actually be next month?
Calendar year. We just identified that our plate in the first half of the year is pretty full.
Well, I certainly don't disagree with that. But I do think it's a valid comment that there are a number of things that have changed just in the 2.5 or 3 years that I've been on this commission. And the strategic plan was significantly outdated when we started 3 years ago, and we continue to not have a new one. So yeah, I get that. And I don't know how we fit all that in there either, but certainly that may be a higher priority. But I'd have to go back and look at everything else. So I can't really say that. And then in regards to the term limits, I guess I'd just like to know what all that would entail to put that on the ballot for November. And I don't know if that's a big job, a little job, I don't even know what it entails. So maybe Tom or Tanya can just give us a real quick snapshot of that. Not now, but certainly sometime in the future, to say what all that would entail. So I guess that's my thoughts.
I think
Go ahead,
the
Commissioner
chair said,
Treese.
okay, so I'll start talking. Roy, I wrote down what I think your 3 issues were. It was the term limits, the housing issues, and the kind of what the North Star, to use your terminology, is for the strategic plan. And I'd like to start at the bottom and ask you if your concept is that having the discussion about what county services are versus municipal services. Is that what you mean? Is that the nugget, or am I missing that?
Thank you, Pam. That's part of the nugget. The bigger question is, and you can get into very robust public outreach programs, and I get that at some point, but before we ever had a strategic plan, we said, well, what is our business model? What are we providing? And we've had mission creep. Every government does. We do various services, and nothing wrong with that either. I'm not saying we're wrong. I'm just saying, what do we want to look like? Are we going to be a full service county? Are we going to be a public health and other sorts of more narrow county, like I would say Multnomah County is, although they have some public service. Where are we going? I think it's a fair question. You got, I'll pick on the city of Hillsborough as a good example. They're a full service city. You have cities like Durham, which I represent, that they don't really have a lot of services. And so I'm just saying, before you ever start talking about a strategic plan, which you say, okay, that's how you implement whatever your vision is, what's our vision? And I think that we're all smart enough people, 5 of us plus staff, to say, okay, what's the vision? I won't be here, but I can tell you that 10 years from now, if you don't plan for it today, it'll come fast. I have a very clear idea that the county is going to be very, very different, and we're going to be doing a lot of different things. So do you not plan for them? Do you not start there and say, okay, that's what we want to become? So I thank you, Pam, for the question. The whole urban service issue is rolled up into that. That becomes a part of it. But I would say that Clean Water Service has the same issue too. And you saw what Diane did in her analysis. We're going to be different. And I get it. I'd like to say, how are we going to be different?
And I'll defer to Tanya on this, but I was hoping that discussion would be the leading part of our strategic planning process. So I think your point is well taken, Roy, but I think that it will be in that second half when we do the strategic planning work. Tanya, in your mind, is that what you're seeing as part of the strategic planning work?
Well, let me share some preparatory work staff is doing right now, is identifying services and service levels across the county. Dorian Russell, Brenda Bartlett, and Aaron Doyle we're working with LUT and HHS to develop the how we gather what are the services, what are the service levels, and who do those services serve within the county, countywide, or are they district services? And then we'll start to systematically work with other departments. This is very important information. Commissioner Rogers, to your point, we need to have an inventory of what we're doing to talk about also where we're going. So that work is underway behind the scenes in prep to a strategic planning effort. I will say we don't have that information at this point in time within the county. And so it's incredibly also important because that information is needed whether we talk about our budget or any community engagement effort to really understand the county service portfolio. I do also want to comment on the housing question. We currently are working on a housing organizational assessment. Comey and his team, in partnership with HR, have brought in a firm to help look at, because you're absolutely right. That department has experienced incredible growth, both in an FTE as well as dollars. And so ensuring that we have the right structure is incredibly important. And I'll say, I don't think we have the right structure in that area. We need to look at it. In addition, housing is looking at the Housing Authority, looking at our housing portfolio and how do we ensure that we are maintaining our assets. The board's well aware, the Housing Authority board's well aware of the investments that have been made, but how do we ensure that longevity? So Commissioner Rogers, that work, and I think probably shared that in probably 1 or 2 sentences during a board leadership update a month or so ago. So I'm sure that probably got lost in the shuffle, but that work is underway. And what we can do is also report back to the board as far as findings after that assessment is complete.
Can I comment to both of your points? Number one, in regard to to me, it's more than a strategic plan. It's the whole concept. And thank you for the clarification. That's all I needed to know, that it's not being forgotten. Because we were talking about some strategic planning which was not well defined. I had no idea. But if we're going to talk before developing a strategic plan about where we're going, that's great. We ought to do that. That's probably the most important work. And in regard to the housing, I thank you for your comments. That tells me, because I talked to Comey and I mentioned it at one of these, and I said, well, it's just too fragmented. It just doesn't make any sense how fragmented we are. how do we put that together? And I mentioned at that time that this is such a complex area of financing, tax credits, and I mean, we need really some real understanding of how that works, and maybe more than just the 5 of us plus 2 other. Maybe we need a little different advisory board that has that expertise, the bankers and the folks who really deal with these things. But thank you. And the budget is going to look at the budget as well. I mean, you start looking at piles of money in different silos, and it just it piqued my interest in talking with Comey on a couple of occasions and saying, you know, we've not really put this together like we should, not for sustainability. We're underinsured on assets. We got things coming off the rolls. And we're trying to desperately find new properties. And so your staff is wonderful. They're doing a great job. I just didn't know quite where we're going. And so I guess my disappointment's dissipating a whole bunch as we talk here. Thank you.
Well, I would add, we really haven't had much time to talk about all that the county has needed to take on based upon either voter decisions or state and federal obligations that are directed our way. We have those things as a result of those efforts, but we've had to try and keep up with a lot of work that the county is doing to handle all of that, as well as the global pandemic. So we really haven't had much time to talk with our CAO about how things are being led in a way that keeps us all on the same page, right? We've talked a few different times, and this is where Design for the Future comes in, and we'll be talking more about that a little bit later. How do we go from just the immediate that needs to be dealt with to more the mid-range and the long term? And so those are opportunities that are ahead of us now. So to the degree that you've made comments, I think all of us have tried to listen, and that includes our direct reports and the staff that report to our CAO, our county council, and our CWS CEO. And they've been thinking about that, and in some ways operationalize the need that we need a lot more information. We've talked before about how a lot of our information systems are old, and it takes staff an amount of time to gather this stuff. And under Ms. Angie's leadership, they've brought in some additional consultant resources to help satisfy our information needs and to ensure we have good discussions. So that's all I just wanted to add on that. Commissioner Treese.
Thank you. And Roy, the third issue that I was going to bring up with you was the term limits. And my understanding was that that you were going to take that one and talk with the county council about what the process is and make sure we understood, much like what happened with the work around getting the salary commission on the ballot. So, you know, and you're scratching your head like, when was this my job? But that's what I thought was going to happen. So I remembered doing some of that legwork early on for the other issue. So for both ordinances that, or not both ordinances, both charter changes that we put in place. So, but that said, I went through the board initiatives and I can't find it. That doesn't mean it's not there, but I remember seeing it previously and I don't see it there with your name attached.
I'm happy to talk with Tom, and to me, it's just a preliminary exploration to kind of say, what does this mean and how does it work? But I thought that there was no interest in even having me do that. So if nobody's objectionable, and I don't hear that, I'll work with Tom, and he and I
You know
can.
what? Commissioner Treese is right. The way we left it before was you were the one most interested in it. And so it was on you to follow up and
We'll do it.
bring ideas forward. And, you know, any of us can do that with our CAO and county council at any time, right? It's just we can't have any one of the five of us trying to direct our CAO, our county council, or our CEO to do something on our own individual behalf. So this is, but you can use them to try and assess a topic, but you still own bringing it forward.
Thank you for the clarification. Again, my angst is going way, way, way down. I will talk with Tom and something after the first quarter of the year. Just basic kind of information that we can explore. So thank you.
And I happen to be a fan of term limits in local government. You know, I think I know from experience that I think 12 years is a very useful time frame. You know, I won't speak to term limits at the state legislature or the federal level. And I think it's really unfortunate that some other positions only have 8 years, especially with the complexity of government portfolios, government finance, and the complexity of our communities. But I've never been opposed to term limit consideration. I just don't have the bandwidth to pick it up. And I think that is, I'm not alone in that.
Great, thank you. And I'll work with Tom. One thing I didn't bring up under the communications at the beginning that I wanted to, and I know it's way off topic, but just, I think it would be nice at some point if we sent a letter to a congressman who served this state well for a huge number of years, and say to Peter, thanks for all you've done, because he's done things for the state, just not for his district. And I just throw that out. I was going to mention it, and I prompted it, you know, at some point that maybe Washington County just wants to thank him before he leaves office, since he made the big announcement and he's leaving now. Peter's done a good job. He really has.
I just hadn't caught the fact that he's made an announcement. So.
Just yesterday.
Okay.
Chair, I can, and board, I can share that Jajit from the GR team had caught that, and he is drafting a letter for the board's consideration.
So that's something we can look forward to approving in the next couple of Tuesdays. That's great. Wonderful. Okay, well, as far as I know, unless anyone has any other corrections to the board initiatives, I think we've got our set going into 2022. So great. So that takes us to topic number 4, which is committee assignments. So what we have is a couple of different summaries of the set. And please notice the dates on the summary information. I think we have some corrections for the way this is listed out. So let's see. Okay, that one's taken care of. Commissioner Fye, I can't remember. Are you or I the alternate for MPAC?
I'd like that answer too.
Yes, I think so.
You think you are, Nafisa?
I think I am. At least, let me double check something.
Well, so as such, we need to list that. Right?
Yeah.
Then for 2022, Commissioner Treese is the AOC District 8 Chair. So we'll make that change. Then the WCCC rep for 22 is Commissioner Fye, as it's been since October. And then for Commissioner Willie under District 4, I'm not sure the Hillsborough Chamber exists anymore versus the Washington County Chamber. It used to be a District 4 chamber. Go ahead, Commissioner Willie.
I think, and I'll need to circle back. I was going to ask this question of Deanna Palm yesterday, and I forgot. I think they have removed all the elected positions on their board of directors now that they are the Washington County Chamber. So I will confirm that, but I think that's what their new board structure looks like.
Great.
But don't they still have like an advisory board, an advisory group for electeds? I mean, I guess that's part of the question, but the other question is, if there is an advisory group, there should be somebody from the board on that, right?
I would agree. So give me a few minutes. I'll follow up and see if I can get that response while we're still in this meeting. Otherwise, I will circle back with you tomorrow.
Thanks.
And then there's another one missing in that column, and that is the Council on Forest Trust Lands. And our position, we're part of the position 3 counties. So that's an external one as well. So that needs to be indicated in the chart. And then I'm finishing my 3rd year on the audit committee. And I'm not interested in continuing on with the audit committee. I think it's time to rotate. And I just want to plant a seed for everybody to think about rotation. Oh, and this is where there was the second committee or the second email I needed to reference. So I sent you an email on Wednesday, November 24th regarding the AOC Oregon Justice Department, so AOC-OJD Court Facilities Task Force. So there is a process by which counties work with the department on identifying the need for investments in court facilities across the state, whether it's for planning or for improving existing court buildings, or for replacing, as in building new. We need to start planning before we can get to the category of a replacement. As we heard in the first ever annual state ledge and judge court breakfast in 2019 and subsequently, we have a really old courthouse. And with our population, it's recognized that we need additional judges to handle the volume of cases. but we've been told by the state, you're not going to get any more judges until you have more courtrooms. And the only way we're going to get more courtrooms is if we build a new courthouse. So we were hoping to include a project manager for a new courthouse project with our proposed budget last year, but our financial constraints didn't allow for that. We've put that request in for this next fiscal year. Irrespective of that, we need to participate in this process. So I forwarded to each of you the email as I had received it. And I know I'm going to try to make each of those 2 meetings, but I think we need to be prepared to have 2 members of our board participating and include some staff assistance. So I wanted to bring the opportunity forward to all of you. You've had it, and that includes the 2 documents that we were provided by AOC, and see what your thoughts are.
It sounds like a big job.
Well,
But
so
I'm
be-
saying that in jest, but at the same time, it's also something we certainly need to do and to look to the future for, correct? I mean, that's,
Yeah. So what I've committed to you all is that I will attend virtually, at least, the December 9th and the January 24th meetings. And we'll keep you apprised, and including whatever happens moving forward. We already have a new courthouse on our list of facilities needed in the strategic facilities master plan. But we need to start participating in the state process for getting in line, so to speak. And it's going to take a while. It's going to take a while to plan it, scope it, and so forth. So, but I wanted to make sure to check in with you and see if or who out of the 4 of you would be willing to participate. And like with RDPO, we may not have the bandwidth for now, which doesn't mean that's the end of it. It just means for these first 2 meetings. That's all. Okay, well, I'll gather what I gather and bring it back. We'll go from there. Okie dokie. So that's, then there was a second page. So I just wanted to, the second one, that's this table that has, that doesn't work too well, does it? The table that was in the packet, I think it's the last page of the packet. It has like an orange yellow column. So there are a bunch of pencil changes that I put in where like board of directors is missing. So the Metropolitan Area Communications Commission, we don't have anybody from this board assigned to that, and nothing recommended. The Oregon Metro Regional Solutions, Governor Regional Solutions, I've been the board designate for that for a couple of years and plan to just continue it for the time being. So we'll change that. RDPO. This is one where we just flat out didn't have the bandwidth when we reviewed this last year. I don't see any changes. This is for the policy committee. So, you know,
So Chair, if I can add to that one, on the policy committee, it is all elected officials. So if the board does not have capacity to serve in that role, then I would suggest that I attend those meetings. They're quarterly in a commissioner absence.
just to clarify, the bylaws are written, so it's only an elected official. Your staff member already serves on the steering committees, so that's the rub.
Oh, thank
I
you for
used-
clarifying that.
Oh, yeah, I was on RDPO for years, which is why I didn't jump at the chance to keep going. It is true that the meetings are only quarterly. They usually schedule them the Friday before a long weekend. So anyway, that was it. I just wanted to clarify. Commissioner Treese.
I will do that.
Oh, terrific. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. On the Washington County Visitors Association, I'm the board rep for that. Every November, they have a meeting that if, like me, you make an effort to go to the AOC conference, I miss it. So I reported out on that back in November, and Commissioner Rogers said he'd be willing to serve as an alternate. They don't have alternate positions for their board of directors, but it certainly won't hurt. So, you know, it's standard on all these committees. Really, the only ones that have designated alternates that I know of are the Metro ones. But thank you, Commissioner Rogers. I'll note it in this table for sure. Go ahead, Commissioner Treese.
Chair, on the Community Development Block Grants, CDBG, the PAB, it
Yeah.
says that there's no alternate.
I know I've been the alternate the whole time.
Yeah, so I really do need an alternate there. So, I mean, I think you've attended maybe one or two meetings, probably, not a lot. I mean,
At
I'm
least
good
two,
about
yeah.
attending, but I do want to back up so I would ask for a volunteer.
And the other thing, you know, for longevity purposes, I think that, you know, I don't have a problem with your continuing on another year, but I think the board really needs to think about, you know, some of these terms are defined as 3-year terms. Some of these don't have any terms. But I think there needs to be a rotational basis as well.
And I think that there's a culture within the PAB to keep people in those seats for as long as possible, which doesn't help in terms of educating our board members about that. But I just want to bring that up as well. But I'm willing to be the alternate and have somebody else in that seat as well. So I'm just saying, you know.
Well, and for the next year, I'm perfectly fine with remaining as the alternate unless it's burning a hole in somebody else's pocket.
Okay, thank you. I just need to make sure I'm uncomfortable not having an alternate there.
No, I've been your alternate. It's just this didn't get updated. Yep. Then the lower down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fifth from the bottom.
Chair Harrington, I think Commissioner Rogers is unmuted.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I was just going to throw out on the TriMet House Bill 2017 Transit Committee, they needed some immediate action in November. And so Nafisa and I chatted about that with her busy workload on another. I told her it's not difficult for me to go ahead and continue on, which she said, great, go ahead and do it. But we don't have that indicated in there. So if the group doesn't mind, I will, because they got a meeting again next week. And so that would be the House Bill 2017 Transit Committee. And would be happy to go ahead and take that back and deal with that.
Great, I'll update the table. On the,
Nafisha, is that you're in agreement, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
very reflective of the conversation we had, Commissioner Rogers. Thank you. Yeah, I was just gonna update that. Same page.
well, let me pause here. So for that first portion of the table, are there any other changes, corrections or otherwise? Okay, so back to the lower part, the internal boards and committees. In the fourth row, the Equity Leadership Council, that was and is that internal employee group. I don't know that that needs to be listed. It's not an internal, it's internal to the agency as opposed to internal to the county, is my point. This list of quote unquote internals was meant to be the boards and commissions that we have ownership for as the agency, where it still has external people, but we're the party that controls it. So I think that was just a little misplaced. Then the fifth from the bottom, the SHS LIP, limited duration, that was done. We're all done with that. So that row will go away. Strategic Facilities Executive Committee, there was some thought of that at the beginning, but I don't think we have any such thing, do we? Yeah, okay, great.
Chair, can I just comment on that and just go back to the Equity Leadership Council? So we were exploring having a board member involved on the executive committee, but we've moved on to a different structure because there wasn't capacity, and also have learned all board members have equal interest in the progress on that plan too. And then going back to the Equity Leadership Council, can you clarify how you would like that displayed? And the reason that was listed on here is just because in the equity resolution, it explicitly states that a board member is on that committee.
Oh, I'm not suggesting that the problem is this term external and internal. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Got it. Thank you.
You can have as many committees with the employee groups as you want, and we can authorize them through resolutions and orders, some with board liaisons, some without. That's really internal to how we're doing, or you're doing your work and getting the benefit of board advisement. When this construct was proposed, this internal and external was used, for lack of a better phrase, to mean those things, those committees that are defined by parties external to us as the Washington County government. So that's all. So I'm just trying for us to keep straight of where we have presence on the 30 to 35 some odd boards and commissions, right? Instead, the CAO designee attends. And that is a board of directors that does have elected officials from the other local governments. It's just a conscious decision on our part. So just like, RDPO, we don't have coverage. And I guess I'm wondering, well, it's like with WEA, should we move that one up to the upper category? Because do we own the bylaws for that? Isn't it a whole joint setup with other jurisdictions?
Are you talking about the
WACA.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about WEA.
No, WACA. I don't know. We'll have to investigate that one and get it into the right place. So. Oh, and on WCCC, Nafisa, you're assigned that. The alternate, is that Pam or Jerry or Roy? I know it's not me.
I don't think we have an alternate for WCCC. But Chair Harrington, I was thinking, because you're the alternate for JPAC, if you could be the alternate for WCCC as well, so that does that make sense? And they're same week, one is on a Monday and one is on a Thursday, so they're pretty aligned in terms of the conversation and the agendas. So I know you have a lot on your plate, but if you could squeeze that in.
Yeah, because everything else that WCCC does in advising us comes to the board. So it's really the discussion on the JPEG stuff. Yeah. Okay. I'm fine with that. I think that's it. So I'll just update the table and send that. I don't know that if you have some questions, we can close on it at the round table in January, but I don't think there's any other action or anything we need. So I think that's it. So we're a little bit ahead of the game. Ms. Angie, I don't know how long you would like to discuss design for the future. If you recommend we take a break or just go right into it.
It looks like Commissioner Willie's nodding his head. Go right into it.
So is
I see
Commissioner
other-
Chase. That's the proceed sign.
Yeah.
All righty, let's do it.
So I earlier shared with the board, really pleased to fill 2 of the assistant county administrator positions with Aaron Calvert over the public safety and justice departments, and Marnie Kyle over housing, health and human services, assessment and taxation, and community development. So those 2 positions are in place. The recruitment was open until filled. So we are now in what's called a rolling recruitment status. So we are still accepting applications, and I will say there are applicants still coming in. And so we will be starting to schedule semi-finalists and finalist interviews. The final interview, I will be continuing to look at the original 2 board members involved, Catherine and Pam, to be involved so that we're consistent with the process, as well as reaching out to community partners for meet and greets. I will want to be respectful of everyone's time though, so those details will be worked out as we have a candidate pool in place. What we are seeing in recruitments in general across the county, and especially with this level of position, the demand in the market and for workforce is high. And so we need to be really thinking about what process and recruitment process and catering to candidate needs, because individuals are entertaining, in some cases, multiple offers at the same time. And that brings up just the CFO position. We do have Rodney Rhodes in an interim position. Right now it's up for up to 6 months, which really appreciate his leadership, and also the partnership with Clean Water Services and Jack Leong's continued to support in this transition. So thank you, Diane, for that. That recruitment, a recent update, we have 16 applicants, and we are going to continue to leave that open for a longer period of time due to that number. I will say just across the country, CFOs, Health and Human Services directors, and county, local and government sector, even CFOs and private and nonprofit sector, there's several openings. And so it is about hiring the talent for what Washington County needs and those who are passionate for our mission and future direction of the county. So I still remain hopeful with all of those postings. I will share that coming up early next year, Eva Labonte and her team are looking at just succession, including retirements, resignation, and we will be bringing forward that data and an update on what are we seeing in Washington County? How does that compare on the national level and the state level, comparing both public and private? So really a workforce and human capital update. As I've shared with the board prior, Design the Future, some of these structural changes are just, that's only part of Design the Future. It is also looking at how we operate as an organization. On December 10th, Julian Novak, who has previously facilitated the board mid-year roundtable, will be facilitating a retreat with the executive leadership team. And we are going to be looking at our internal meetings and structures, how we do our work, how we share our work, and how we report out and communicate with the organization to ensure there's clarity and transparency and ensuring strategic direction. I'm calling, this can be called an accountability matrix. And so I will follow up with the board on the report out as far as what has changed, probably in January, because there will be continued work with our department directors thereafter. Commissioner Rogers asked a good question as far as direction of the county, direction of county services. I shared some of the pre-work earlier to the strategic plan, also the assessment that is underway in housing. In January, we will be releasing the RFP for an HR human resources assessment. This assessment will be focused on best practice, HR systems, human capital systems, the importance of having strong HR systems. If we think of the importance of finance, our investment in human capital is incredibly important, as our employees are the backbone of this organization to deliver community service. So I'm looking forward to kicking that off. We will also be looking at conducting a financial department assessment as well. In my conversations with interim CFO Rodney Rhodes, interim assistant county administrator Rachel Fuller, that's just a needed space. I've previously shared with the board, as well as Jack Lang has, just the need of staff within our budget division. There's also some other areas. So we'll be coming back to the board with more information as far as that process. So why is this important to Design the Future? It's important as we move forward with operational excellence to really take to look at how we're doing our work and how our work needs to evolve to meet the not only needs of the county, but also to align with our constrained financial resources. And so that also connects with LUT is currently undertaking an operational assessment. This was raised in an outcome after the board was presented with the fee increase. And I'm trying to think back to a point in time last year, but it kind of seems like a blur. So the board will receive the output of that assessment probably, and I'm anticipating end of Q1 of next year. So I feel confident that these assessments, this benchmarking of where we're at, will be wonderful inputs as we go into strategic planning, because it's not just what does the community want and need from Washington County. It is also understanding where we're at and where our operational needs are to ensure that we have excellence in government operations. One of the elements of Design for the Future is establishing organization values. Currently, we do not have values that we anchor to recruitment processes and how we as county employees operate. I think we have wonderful employees within the county, and operational values help us anchor our work and create behaviors of how we will show up at work. So currently, Eva Labonte, as well as Latricia Tillman and I are looking at different models, and we'll be looking at bringing a consultant in at some point this coming year to start that work with the organization. These values then will connect into our strategic plan. So that's a brief update. What I am also working on is just a written description of all of the planning processes, strategic planning processes that are occurring within departments, because that links to services too in the future direction of the county. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, board members, any questions or comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Rogers.
A couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when we were hiring a new CEO for Clean Water Services, I asked Diane, who at the time was the assistant and then became, of course, the CEO, what her plans were specifically in regards to the use of AI to do a number of tasks that we currently are maybe using labor for, or it could be streamlined to help contain costs for the future. She had an excellent answer at the time, and I know she's been implementing that. But in your presentation, I haven't heard anything about AI. I didn't hear you say, most of it's communication pieces and working more effectively, but in your consultants, do you have the capacity to look at AI and how we might streamline many of our processes and maybe do things a little differently?
Yeah, so that's one of the plans that, Roy, thank you for raising that, because I had failed to mention that. Coming forward to the board, it will be the IT strategic plan. In our IT strategic plan, AI and how AI relates to our systems that we are securing in the future is a component of the strategic plan. So yes, we are looking at that and looking at how that can build in efficiencies in the work that we do here at the county.
Any other commissioner questions or comments? Okay, well, I'll add a few. I think back in the beginning of 2019, when we had 3 of us as new commissioners, we've learned a lot about not only the portfolio, but the financial circumstances of the agency, but also through the progression of a long tenured CAO, an interim CAO, and a new CAO, with each having different levels of experience and notably expertise. I mean, we know that our current CAO is quite experienced with data analytics and can speak AI, with the best of anybody in local government. We've had the opportunity to learn a lot and get some visibility into where the county is operationally, and this really comes to intersects with our work as the Board of Commissioners. We don't operate the agency, but we make policy investment decisions through our budget. And we learned in the summer of 2019 that our HR systems are quite old. When we were asking for an assessment on our work, well, 2 assessments we asked for. One was on eligible employees that were eligible for retirement, given the PERS bill that passed in the 2019 session. And then the other was about the workforce demographics for diversity standpoint. And then under the interim CAO, I learned even more, and through a second budget, I can say I also learned a lot more about our financial systems and how, it's incredibly lean to the point of pain, I think. Hats off to staff for getting all the work done. They work really hard to go right from a proposed budget to an adopted budget to a CAFR. It's just very tight timelines. I know you've all heard it from me, been really committed to transparency. So that includes making sure all of us have access to the information, but also supporting efficiency. And we have some choices to make ahead of us about how we continue to invest in these much needed systems in order for our teams to deliver on the services that our community is looking for. I've been really satisfied with the embracing by the employee set in the principle of continuous improvement and looking at how they go about their service delivery to see how we can gain efficiency and what sort of additional tools may help them increase productivity. And I've been delighted. I realized that our Clean Water Services CEO, Diane Taniguchi-Dennis, had to depart from the meeting, but we have the Chief of Staff, Mark Jockers. With our being the board of directors for Clean Water Services, we've been engaged on business improvement and values and organization change with Clean Water Services in a way that we haven't yet been able to as the Board of Commissioners for Washington County. But I think we can all be very confident that with the design for the future process and the approach that Ms. Angie is following in getting assessments completed, not only to inform her, but to inform us on needed investments, that we have much to look forward to, some hard choices perhaps to fit those constrained resources. But I think we can go into 2022 knowing that we're going to learn more and that it will continue to serve our community that we serve more ably in the 21st century. So it sounds to me like as we look ahead to our work in 2022, Ms. Angie, we're going to have to, not only do we have work for the proposed budgets and those conversations, but we'll have to figure out what timeframe some of those assessments might come in. Will they be coming in 2022 or will they be coming in 2023? How do we continue to be prepared with our bandwidth to support the work that you're doing and that the work that Tom is doing as our two leaders for the agency of Washington County? It's not lost on me that we have work to do. It's just like following up on with Clean Water Services from our October meetings in working with Diane. I think I put it in the roundtable packet or the roundtable plan already. Our April roundtable meeting will be focusing on Clean Water Services. because as we heard from our time together in October, we have additional information that we'll need to digest and ponder. So I just wanted to reflect back on where we've come and the roadmap that I heard Ms. Angie describing for us moving forward. That's all. Any other thoughts? Okay, we can end our roundtable early then. Terrific.
One quick question about tonight.
Oh, right, you weren't at our meeting on Tuesday.
No, just I got an
gotta run
update.
through.
Well,
Okay.
no, we don't need to do that. I got an update from Megan yesterday, and so I've seen the agenda and everything. My question is that
Oh, there is an agenda. Do we have one?
well, no, I just got the outline from that you got presented last week, I think. Just a second.
Ooh, I better catch up. I'm not sure what you're referring to. I must have missed
Well,
something.
just the format of tonight, the breakout sessions and the categories and things like that. And I was just asking, I was going to ask the other commissioners, since there are three, I think I've got this right, 3 20-minute segments, and there's a variety of different topics. Is everyone anticipating they're going to go to 3 different topics? So they're not going to stay in one topic for as they change maybe participants in that. They're not going to stay there and just listen to a different group of participants, or are you going to move to a different subject? And
I don't know what the subjects are. Do you? I only know that there are different groups and we're invited to go amongst the groups, but I haven't seen any other depth of information beyond what was shared with us verbally on Tuesday.
Okay. Well, there's going to be different subjects. We all know that. And we are invited to change at each 20-minute segment. And so I was just wondering, what the other commissioners were thinking they were going to do tonight. So Nafisa, yeah?
I was thinking of, I think we have the opportunity to go to 3 different breakouts is what we were told, not a subject based, but 3 different breakouts. And I was thinking of at least trying out 3 different just to see, because I assume they're going to be different people in each. But if one conversation enticed me, I was planning on actually being flexible with myself and to stay in that. But we have the opportunity to go to 3 different breakouts. And I think that was the recommendation of staff. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tanya.
Yes, and I would ask Clerk Moss just promote Latricia Tillman because she can answer specifics.
The other thing before Latricia is promoted is, I think we should be just aware if there are more than a couple commissioners in one breakout to probably move around a little bit.
I have no set plan. I'm just gonna go with the flow as it was described for us, but
Are we waiting on Latricia?
I'm here. Would it be helpful, Madam Chair, if I just walk through the flow?
sure.
Okay. So basically the agenda will include a brief presentation on the Washington County budget after a welcome from all of you. And then there will be 3 20-minute breakout sessions, as was mentioned, and then a report back from each of those breakout sessions, and then final remarks from the board. The topics of the sessions include one focused on public health, one focused on mental health and addictions, one on disability, aging, and veteran services. There will be 2 breakout sessions focused on public safety and justice, one on housing, one on land use and transportation, one on culture, recreation, and education, one for other departments that include like assessment and taxation, and then 2 conversation groups solely in Spanish that will cover the waterfront, basically. And you're welcome to stay in any of those sessions for the full 20 minutes and then rotate 3 times. You can come and go as you please if you want to kind of float between sessions, session 1, session 2, session 3, or if the conversation is engaging and it focuses on a policy priority that you have, you can stay in one session, one topic area for all 3 sessions. So it really is completely up to you to move as you wish between the sessions.
Latricia, will there be, for those of us who do not speak Spanish, will there be an interpreter in those Spanish only groups? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Commissioner Willie, does that help?
Yes, thank you.
I do want to also share that we've given clear direction to staff. If staff do not have an active involvement in the facilitation, that they watch via YouTube. And the purpose of this direction is not to exclude staff from the process. The purpose is that we center community in this process. So just to let you know, if you wonder why I'm not in one of those rooms, I'm not a facilitator. So we want to make sure we're hearing from community, but just want to share that component as well.
Our staff aren't considered those staff watching, right? Our staff are able to participate in the breakouts, so they're able to capture some of the conversations as well, like Megan, Brenda, and Brenda twice.
Yes, we recognize that you can only be in one place at a time, and you might want other ears in other sessions for that live listening role. And then we will provide you with the notes that are the copious notes that will be taken in the various breakout rooms, so you can have access to what was shared in the other places that you weren't able to be in.
I'll just be relying upon those copious notes. I hadn't assumed that Brenda Saragusa, who's handling my calendar, would be taking on policy assistant responsibility for tonight, just so she doesn't feel like she has to be attending.
Any other questions? We look forward to seeing you later.
All righty. So I think that's it for the roundtable today, folks. Happy December. We'll see you tonight. It starts at 6 o'clock, right?
We're supposed to be there at 5:50.
All righty. We'll see you later then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.